Let's continue with our Sci-Fi crate. In the previous tutorial, we explored the paintbrush tool and all the options and properties. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about our shelf over here, because that tutorial is getting a little bit long. So on the shelf over here, you've got lots of options. You've got your materials. So these materials are just like what you'd see inside of Maya. They're materials that have preset settings as far as color and roughness and metalness. So you can select any material that you want and use it as a brush and actually paint with that material. So really cool. You can work on these presets, make it look like copper, for instance, or cobalt, or human skin. Yeah. There's also steel. I mean, there's so many options here that you can play with as a base. Now, next to it, you have something called smart materials. So what are smart materials? Smart materials are materials that you can apply that have some filters attached. So let me drag and drop aluminum onto my crate. And it's got that cool metallic, but it also seems to have something else at play. If I go over here to my layers menu, you'll see that there's a folder, and in this folder there's all sorts of things that make this smart material smart. So you'll see that there is a material for, or a fill for soft dust, and a mask attached to it, so that this mask is being controlled by levels and a filter, and this fill also has, it looks like a grunge map as its base. So it's got this base map with some dust so that it looks like it's got some dust to it. The aluminum itself is just a red metal. But yeah, so you can choose a smart material and it's just a more advanced preset. Okay, so over here we've got masks. And so these masks are able to kind of get certain look across. Like for example, if I wanted this to look more, I don't know, like any of these, like edges, like have some really strong edges, and I attach that to my layer, then it's, oh boy, that's not, oh wait, no, it was loading, it was working. Basically, I can mask out wear and tear and dust. So these are basically smart masks. So these are masks that have a bunch of presets applied, and they can be used to blend with the base. Over here, you've got some effects, and we're not going to really play with those in this tutorial, but there are things that you can do, like add a glow or a blur. There's just lots of cool effects here, and some of your smart materials will have effects applied in. You got your brushes, and some of these brushes are just standard run-of-the-mill brushes, but there's others. If I go up here and I use my search bar and I type in particle, these brushes are actually not your typical brush. If I click on it and we create a new layer so that it's applicable, so let's double click this brush. Notice that this brush stroke is actually bleeding down the page. It's animated. That's because it's actually coloring using a particle emitter, and you can go in and adjust these parameters, and we'll play with the particle brush at some point. But these are like animated brushes that can get kind of a cool aesthetic. They're a little gimmicky, but honestly, I've had a lot of fun with them in the past. Alpha channels, of course. Let's close out of the search. And then textures, and you can import your own textures into a scene, which we'll do. And then over here, different panoramas that you can play with. Okay, so let's get started on this crate now that we've addressed, everything else that's really necessary for this time. I'm going to go over here and just delete these layers that I've added in, and I'm going to start kind of building up the kind of presets that I threw together for my Wally crate. So I used a mixture of presets and some stuff that I custom painted myself. Presets are so helpful. My Wally crate probably took me 45 minutes to put together, and most of it was just me thinking about how I wanted it to look, because some of these presets can really expedite the whole painting process. So the first thing when I approached the crate was I looked at some smart materials, and the one that really appealed to me was one of the steels. So if I scroll down here and I look at all the steel options, the one that I really liked was called Steel Painted Scrap, and it's this one right here. So I'm going to grab it and drag it onto my crate. All right. So it doesn't quite look like Wally yet, but I thought that the wear and tear kind of matched some of the wear and tear that you see on Wally. And I have a picture of him on my other screen, so I should have probably brought it in here so that I could show you, but just roll with it. So what I want to do is the preset is a great start, but it's not quite Wally yet. So I'm going to go into the folder and I'm just going to look at some of the options. So there's a dirt color, a roughness variation. Here we go. There's the base metal and a paint on top of it. So the base metal is just going to be a shiny metal map, and you can see where this wear is where it's erased around the edges to give a sense of wearing through the paint. And so the paint right here, this is where my base color is. Wally is not red. He's kind of a yellow. So we're going to go look for yellow. It's almost a yellow-orange with Wally. And then he had a little bit of desaturation to him. When let's see here. Yeah, something kind of like that. Looks a little more Wally-ish. I may bring down the dark levels just a little, make that a little darker. It's maybe a little too yellow. Let's bring the saturation up slightly. Just let it load. It's taking its sweet time. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think that'll work. Okay, so I start with my base paint, and on Wally himself, and actually let me see if I can bring it over. I hope my recorder will catch this, or is it just recording my Substance Painter screen? I don't know. But over here you can see, hopefully it's recording this. This is my picture of Wally, and so I'm kind of matching it. It's still a little too yellow. I think I need it to be a little more orange and a little less saturated. So desaturate and maybe bring it in as far as orange, just a smidgen. It's kind of taking its time to load. And I think that looks, yeah, it looks more Wally color. Okay, cool. So the other thing I noticed about my Wally picture is we got this red rust. And so I'm going to use another preset, and this is called Steel Rust Surface. So let's see if we can find it here. Steel Rust Surface. Steel Rust Surface, where are you? Let's type in steel and see what pops up. Here we go. Steel Rust. I think this is it. Let's look at this in list mode so I can actually read these. Steel Ruined. Here we go. Steel Rust Surface. And I'm going to go ahead and collapse this folder, and I'm going to drag in the Steel Rough Surface over here. All right, so this is going to, wow, it adds a lot of texture, which I like, but it really eclipsed my other maps. This is where I want to start playing with blending modes. Let's try a soft light. Oh, it's a little too dark still. Maybe an overlay. Oh, no, not that. Maybe a screen. Yeah, a bit too light still. Just gonna play. Oh no, I didn't want to go burn. Multiply. That's pretty dark. So I can just kind of play with my blending modes and find something that I like. Still feels kind of not quite right. Let's see. Maybe linear light? Oh no. I think hard light will be fine. Let me just see this. Yeah, there's definitely a big difference there. But let's see what other settings we can play with. Not over. I already checked out overlay. What about screen? I think I clicked screen before and it was just too bright. Lighten? No. Didn't like that output either. Darken? No. Alright, I'm just gonna, well, pass through is not much better. Let's just stick with overlay for soft light for now, and we'll just go from there. Let's go into the settings and see what we can change with this steel rust thing going on. Metal scratches, base metal. Let's turn that off. Oh, that's so much better. In fact, honestly, I kind of like that blended. Let's see if we can change this folder back to normal and see what we got. Oh yeah, no, we definitely want to keep that. Let's try multiply. Okay, multiply adds some really dark dirt stains in. I like them, but still a little too dark. So I think I'm going to go back to my soft light. I also like how it kind of captures a little bit more red that way. Let's go look at some of the rust options. So if I click on rust and I see there's a gradient effect, oh, I wonder what would happen if I change some of these. I'm going to turn this back to normal for the time being and just see what happens if I change this gradient without playing with the blending modes. So let's go in here and change this to, let's see, with Wally, we're dealing with kind of a light red, almost dark brown color. So let's go here and do the lightish red color. And then on this other color, let's go with the darker brown. So we'll just bring the saturation up. And maybe bring up the value and tame down the saturation. Here we go. So that's creating a fun, yeah, I really like that. I like how that came out. So as you see, that was done pretty expediently with just using presets. So these are preset smart materials, and so that's pretty fun. The other thing I may want to do is play with the particle brush, because I think this would be a good opportunity to show you a particle brush, just to add a little extra wear in there. So I'm going to create a new layer. Oh shoot, I think I accidentally created that layer inside of my steel. I don't want my paintbrush to be parented into anything. I want it to be up here. There we go. So I got this new layer. And I already have one of my particle brushes selected. Let's close out of this. Click on brush, type in particle, and what do I want to use? Let's go with leaks. That looks pretty cool. Yeah, let's see how does leak heavy look? Ooh, I like that. Liquid stream. That's a bit much. Rain. No. Sandstorm. Nah. How about splat? What's splat look like? Dunno. I'm going to go ahead and just stick with leaking heavy. Now in the settings of this brush, I don't want to paint with blue. Let's go down here and start with the material, and I definitely want a material. So let's see what kind of materials would look good. So if there was water leaking along the edge of this crate, we'd probably end up with some sort of rust. Let's type in rust, and we see there's lots of options with rust. I like this one. This one looks pretty cool. Rust coarse. What's this one? This one looks like a smart material. What is this smart material? Rust weathering. Oh, that's cool. I probably wouldn't want to paint with it because it's a whole bunch of layers. So I'm probably going to want to actually choose a real material for this. Okay, so now I'm going to be able to paint with this material, not just a color. And this material comes with height, roughness, and metal in, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to go over here, hold down Control, and I'm going to left drag and make this brush a bit bigger. Ooh, that definitely affects things though, so maybe I don't want to make the brush bigger. Alright, cool. So let's look at the settings. So we got physics. Here we go. So the physics, I think one thing I'd want to do, and there's so many things to play with, but one of the ones that's the easiest to play with is particle life. If I extend the particle life, it makes for longer streaks. It just means the particles last longer. So I'm just going to extend those a little bit. I'm going to, oh shoot, sorry. I'm going to rotate my screen. And I'm just going to paint along this edge. Wow. That is a lot. It's a little bit more intense than I was looking for. Let's press undo. Maybe we could do some flow jitter on this bad boy. Yeah, some flow jitter. Let's see if that helps. Oh yeah, that helps. Okay, so I got this rust. It still seems a bit much, so maybe I'll shrink down my brush a little bit more. Okay, and let's see. Cool. Yeah. Maybe, let's see what happens if I did something different. Like, oh, I like how multiply looks. Cool. I'm going to press undo, though, because I really want this to be closer to the lip. Typically I'd use F1, F2, or F3 to toggle between my different views, but it also just so happens to turn on and off my camera, or my recorder. So I'm gonna just push this over to the right so that I'm looking more in my 3D view. Just try to get that up into that crevice. Of course, that will affect how the brush interacts with that surface, but I kind of like it better this way. It's not so overpowering. Cool. Let's add that multiply now. Yeah, that looks cool. I mean, you don't have to do this color. You could do like moldy green or something, or some water damage. It's just fun. This is delightful to me. I really enjoy it. So, not that Wally has a bunch of water rust stains on him, but, you know, just gives us an excuse to play with this brush. Now, one of the cool things here is you can hold down, while you're rotating your screen, you hold down Shift, and it will snap to views just like it does in ZBrush. So just a fun little tip there. Let's go ahead and do this. Oh, and here's another cool tip. You can click and then hold down Shift, and oh, I don't know if this will work with a particle brush. It doesn't. Later on, I'll show you how to draw a straight line using Shift, but it doesn't seem like it works with particle brushes. Or maybe I just didn't click it right, but I'm not going to worry about it. All right, cool. That looks neat. Just get up a little higher into the lip. And there, so just kind of playing with letting there be some extra wear stains on there. I applied a material, and what really sold it was changing the blending mode to multiply. Okay, cool. So this is basically my base crate. I could go further with it, but I kind of enjoy how it looks. So I think the next thing I want to do is play with the straps. So I'm going to turn my strap layer on up here, and when I click on it, there are no layers. I want to go ahead and begin with a base material. So let's see if there are any smart materials that have to do with tires. Ooh, and we got rubber tire and rubber tire dirty. I think rubber tire dirty is where I want to go. And ooh, I like that. That looks so cool. It's got some default height maps on there and normal maps that look like it's got some stained mud on it, giving it lots of cool character pretty expediently. Like, didn't have to put a ton of effort in. The presets already had some of it. But I want this to look like Wally tread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this tire tread. And then I'm going to go to my paintbrushes, and I still have the word tire up here, so I can look at custom brushes that have tire tracks. Cool, so I'm going to click on that. And now I got a tire track brush. I do not want to paint with a rust material this time, so I'm going to cut that out. In fact, I don't want to paint with color at all, or roughness, or metal, or normal, or opacity, or emissive, because those are still turned on this particular material. I just want to paint with the height. And I want to give this a positive height. I want this to pop out. Okay? And when I choose to do that, let's go over here. And let's press F. And I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to go to one side. I can, this is cool, click here, hold down Shift, and then click again, and you can drag in a straight line. Let go and click, and there we've got some tire tread. Looks like those are actually pushed inward. Let's see how they look on the actual crate. Yeah, that looks cool. A little bit more distant. His look like they're a lot closer together. It's also not the right shape, but whatever. We don't have to get super accurate with it. I do want this tread to be a little bit more together though, so I'm going to go up to my brush settings and maybe reduce the spacing just a smidgen to like 15. Yeah, there we go. And then I will press undo, and let's try that again. So I'm going to click once, hold down Shift and click again, and that creates a straight line. Let go and click. And yeah, that looks maybe a little too close together now. Let's take this back up to 20. Just kind of going with, oh, that was stroke opacity, I think. No, I typed in 2 on spacing. All right, let's do that one more time. And let's do it with one that's actually in the lighting. So I think this one is right here. So let's click, hold down Shift, click again, draw a straight line, let go, and click again. Oh yes, that looks cool. Now you'll notice that this texture, every time I do this texture, I can try my best to keep it right here, but there's a chance that part of it goes off to the side. So if I click here and I shift drag and I let it go, some of that's gonna bleed onto the side, and I don't maybe want this texture on that side. Actually, it doesn't look like it did so. It looks like it's so covered by dirt that it didn't really pop up over there. But if I were just to start painting, you'll see how some of this brush bleeds over into areas I may not want it to. I just want this to be on the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this layer and create a new layer. I'm going to call it tire tread again. But this time I'm actually going to call it front tread. And then I'm going to create a mask, and I'm going to add a black mask. And a black mask, if I were to click on this layer and start painting, notice that you can't see anything. That's because I have a mask that is preventing me from painting right there. Press undo. If I go to my mask layer, so once I create a mask, there's now an extra channel, a mask channel. You can see that everything on this is covered by the mask. In order for something to bleed through, I would need this mask to be white in places. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to go back over to my tools and I'm going to select this really cool polygon fill tool and show you how neat it can be. So polygon fill is going to be different based on what tool you're using, but I'm going to use it for clicking on the mask, and basically it's going to wash in any of these squares I pick, either black or white or gray based on this slider. I'm going to put it all the way to 1 and just click on one of these squares, and as you can see, there's now an ability to see or to paint on this area. So I want to paint on everything that is on the front of these bars. So I'm going to isolate these, so I'm only looking at these instead of my whole crate. And I'm just going to go in and make sure that I've got everything selected. And you can click and drag a marquee, which makes this so much more expedient. Everything about Substance Painter is just expedient, and I love it. I'm here for it. So I'm just selecting front pieces, and I see that I want to include these. There we go. I can kind of go between my my 2D view and my 3D view. There. So this is the front of those pieces. Let's get to the front of these pieces. Cool. Just grab all of this. Grab all of this. Cool. All right, that's it. That's all we need. So now I can go back into my material mode. I can click on the base here and grab my brush tool, which it's already selected. And I can just start painting tread up this. So I'm going to click here, and then hold down Shift and drag, so it's a nice straight line, and let go. Oh, whoops, sorry. I get a little confused with this tool myself. Hold down Shift, drag it on up, and I have to click again to activate it. Okay, let's see how that looks on this side. It's looking good. Got us a tire tread. I feel like it's a little off-centered. I'm going to press undo. Try to get this as centered as possible. Maybe I should make it a little bigger. I don't know. We'll see. Ooh. Click. Click. Oh, that's better. It's closer anyway. Oops. Doesn't feel like any of the tire tread carried up to this portion though. Let's add one more. There it goes. Whoops. I'm going to press undo again. Go up a little higher this time. Huh, that's interesting. It doesn't really catch right there for some reason. Very interesting. Maybe if I start from the top and work my way down. That is so strange. Oh well, not the end of the world. I mean, if this were going to be an actual project that I was really putting time and effort into, then yeah, I would want to figure out how to get that brush to activate the whole way through, but it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to carry on. Maybe yeah, kind of catch the edge using the middle of the brush instead. Oh well. Over here I painted too far, so I can just use my eraser tool. So I just grab the eraser tool, make it a little bigger. Oops. And ask it to, its flows up, the size is up, spacing's off. Forgot the hotkey for softening it. I think it's up and down on this. Yep, there we go. Make it a hard brush. Ask it to erase height maps because that's what I'm painting with. There we go, get rid of those. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and apply some tire tread elsewhere. And I'm gonna pause my recording and just jump ahead a little bit. Sorry. Okay, so I went ahead and painted tires on all of these, and now what I want to do is do side tread. So side tread I want to look a little different, and what I'm going to type in is something that I found earlier that I really liked, which was something called the metal stitches. So I'm going to type in metal, and there's metal stitches. All right, so I'm going to create a new layer. So in the previous layer, I just went ahead and threw down some tire tread. And now I'm going to create a new drawing layer, and this is going to be side tread. And over here you can kind of see it's kind of got this, like these little pieces of a conveyor belt. So that's kind of what I want to accomplish with this silver stitch. Now, when I initially paint with this doesn't look at all like what I would probably want. But that's because I've got a material attached. Let's turn off color. Let's turn off roughness and metal so that we're just dealing with the height map. And yeah, that actually is a lot more of what we're looking for. We do need to go ahead and take down the spacing a bit. And then maybe up the size. All right, so we're getting closer. I need to create a mask on this. Let's add a black mask so everything's turned off on this side tread. Let's go into the mask layer. So we'll just go through the channels till we get to mask. And this time I'm going to paint white using my polygon fill tool, all the side bits. So all of this over here I'm going to want, and all of this over here and here. Yeah, when you lay out your UV maps in a nice clean way, it expedites a lot of things. Let's go ahead and just grab these, all of these over here, and all of these up here. Cool. And let's go back to the main material, and we're going to paint on this. And probably want to shrink this down a little bit. It seems a little big, so I'm going to go ahead and scale that down. That looks like a good size. I'm going to start by clicking here, holding down shift and drawing a straight line, and then click and let go. Cool. Let's do that again over here. Just going to click, hold down shift, drag a line, click again. Let's do that here. Click, hold down, click and hold down shift, let go, and click again to solidify. So I click, then I hold down shift, then I click drag my straight line, then I let go, and to make it, to affect it, I click one more time. So now when I look at these side bits, I got this really cool kind of linear line texture going on. All right, let's do that over here to these pieces. What's cool about this brush is if I just straight up draw it, it follows my stroke path. I love that. Oops, a little bit off. one is also a little bit off. Let's try again. Ah! And we turn. There we go, finally. And we'll do that again here. You know, I need to stop undoing and just get on with it. I'm doing this all with my mouse. This would be a lot more efficient if I had my tablet plugged in, but que sera. And this way and down again. Okay. Oops. Didn't do that. So, oh yeah, we gotta do these spits too, don't we? This will be easier though. All I just do is shrink that brush down a little, click, hold down shift, drag, let go and click, so much faster. Click, drag, let go, click, click, drag, click, click, let go, shift, click, hold, let go and click, click, drag, click. And what's nice is this won't spill over into the other bit because it's masked off. Okay, cool. And now we've got this neat little tire tread effect. I probably want to go back into the mask a bit. Let's go check that mask out. I think I want some of these inner areas. Sorry if you can hear my dog drinking her water. That's what that sound is if you're curious. Wait, I don't want any of those. Take those back. I just want some of these inner bits here. Yeah. I don't think anyone's ever going to see the tread in here, but just in case, doesn't hurt to add a little. Alright, and let's go over here and don't forget these bits. Click, drag, let go, click, drag, let go. And that should be, oh, what about here? I don't actually know what these bits are, but let's go ahead and not forget them just in case. Oh, I guess they're not even painted, whatever. So now we got this cool tire tread, and this tutorial is plenty long without me adding to it. Let's take a look at things right now as they stand. We've got these cool crate and these tire things on it. It's coming along kind of neat. In the next tutorial, we'll deal with the latches and the top box, which goes into using stencils and painting some custom textures.